6. You guys did it. It's been awesome. We've got more moves to show you. This week's focus is hamstrings. 2 of my favorite moves are targeting the hamstrings, and they're not all that different. One's on your back, one's in tabletop. The biggest thing about hamstring strength as you continue with a running or power walking program is that the quad strength and the hamstring strength are balanced. If the quads are always stronger than the hamstrings, you're gonna get a lot of low back pain, hip pain, and you're setting yourself up for potential injuries. So here we go, 2 moves for the hamstrings, starting in tabletop. This one is called donkey kicks, and it is exactly like it sounds. Take that leg, foot flexed, knee bent to 90 degrees, exhale as you push up, inhale down, exhale, inhale. The knee is not going to bend or straighten as you do this move. You are pivoting from the hip and pushing up. 10 to 15 per side. If you can't do that many, that's fine. Build your way up, switch sides, and do the other leg. You can do 1 to 2 sets. It's absolutely up to you. Flipping to our backs now. We're gonna do a single leg glute bridge. The weight is in the heel, the toes are lifted. That is gonna target the hamstrings exactly how you want to build strength. Because one leg is off the ground, this is a huge challenge for the core as well. So continuing to build that core strength to give yourself the stability and the strength you need for more advanced movements. So here we go. Cross one leg up, weight in the heels, toe lifted. You're gonna be lifting up and down. If you want to lift the arms, you can see my core wiggles quite a bit. It's a lot more of a challenge. You should not feel cramping in the hip or the hamstrings. Exhale to lift, inhale to lower. 10 to 15 per side, switch sides and repeat. Now that we've worked the hamstrings, we want to find a way to stretch them so that they are not tense and tight and limit your range of motion throughout your stride. So one of the best ways to stretch the hamstring is very simple. It's putting that leg forward and it's hinging back. You can stay in that stretch or you can rock in and out of it, which is what I prefer because it feels like it loosens up a little faster than holding it still. And you're stretching more of that full range of motion instead of just one position. So the toe lifts up, the butt sinks back, and the back stays nice and long. If you're rounding here, you're gonna take some stretch out of the hamstring. So make sure that butt's sticking back and that back's nice and long, hinging just at the hip, rocking back and forth. And of course, do this on both sides. You may find one is tighter than the other. Work into it as much as you need. If you're holding in one position, you're going to want to do 3 sets per side for 20 to 30 seconds. If you are rocking back and forth, you're going to want to do 2 sets of 20, alternating between sets. Now, something people don't usually know about the hamstring is they actually work to do this muscle motion as well. So pulling the leg from being out to pulling in. It's that inner hamstring that has a portion of muscle to pull that back leg together. So spreading the legs out wide and shifting the hips side to side is a really good way to get that inner portion of hamstring that attaches right at the pelvis and is going to allow for better hip movements and less strain and pull on the low back. So shifting back and forth 20 times, or again, holding for that 20 to 30 seconds per side. A question I get a lot with hamstrings and low back pain is, I can't touch the floor. Does that mean my hamstrings are too tight? If you cannot reach down and touch the floor, that's really okay. Not many people can. But what we had to differentiate, and I'm going to give you a little way to test this, is it hamstring tightness that is limiting your motion, or is it the quadratus lumborum in the low back that's very tight from poor seated posture with a rounded back that shortens that muscle? So to test if it is hamstring length, you would do the stretches we just did. Stretching one hamstring at a time, whether it's on the ground, if you need more of a challenge up on a step, you can always hold on to handrails and really sink back and get that stretch if you're using a staircase. If you test how far you can move before you stretch your hamstrings and then retest it to see how far you can move after and you've seen improvement, then yes, hamstring length is limiting your range of motion. If you test and retest after the hamstring stretch and you don't see a change in range of motion, it's likely that that quadratus lumborum, a square-shaped muscle on both sides of the low back, is tight and limiting your motion. So the way that I have people stretch this muscle, it's kind of quirky, but it works and it feels good, is to take your elbows into bent knees, dig them down and pull up towards your hips. Holding this motion, you are going to slowly straighten the legs, feeling a pull both in the hamstrings and in the low back. About a 5-second stretch, then release. Reset, elbows dig down and then up to kind of elongate the spine. And you're going to hold that position again as you straighten. Good. I recommend doing that 3 to 5 times to see how you feel, and then retesting your range of motion to see how the low back feels. We have a lot of tightness in the low back. If we're someone who sits all day long, that tightness is probably even more prevalent than people who are up on their feet and active. So great tools here to stretch out the hamstrings, to maintain balance between the quads and the hamstrings in terms of strength, because quads that are too strong, like I mentioned, going to strain the low back, going to cause issues, and can also affect pain in your quad tendon to give you tendonitis if this is overworking and the hamstring is not strong enough. So moving forward past this wonderful 6 weeks, you're going to slowly build up your amount of time in a running interval. If you're looking to drastically increase the amount of time you're running or drastically increase your pace, you're going to take it step by step, just as we did through this first 6 weeks. So I hope you've enjoyed this program. Have an awesome spring and summer, and reach out if you have any questions.